What's going on, you guys? Welcome to Keeping Up with Cash. It's your host, Cash Money Morgan. You guys, welcome to the solo pod. Not only to the solo pod, but the 40th episode of Keeping Up with Cash. So, ski! That song, that got me through the gym. You guys, there's been a lot of updates. The last time we chatted, I remember I said, it's Christmas in July. Like, we haven't not talked since July. And there's been a lot. I recently decided I want to get my life together. Now, we are just at where's the button I'm looking for? Yeah. Good for you, Morgan. Get it, queen. I recently decided I'm going to get my life together. And what that looks like is starting off by cleaning my car. I don't know why my car is the most difficult place for me to have clean. It's a very messy environment. I have this fear of someone businesslike being like, hey, I need a ride. And then I will never make the sale if they're in my car. Like, that's a fear that goes through my brain. That and always getting flat tires, knock on wood. Anyways, so while I'm saying that is that I'm trying to get my life together, is I'm not video recording this episode because I'm so behind on the video recordings and I have not had a chance to really sit down and edit the videos and just get them on YouTube and whatnot. So it's taking too much storage. So if you're someone listening to this podcast and you're like, oh my gosh, I love video recording. I would love to be a part of the podcast. I'd love to see what that would look like and how we can make that happen or what that would look like. Please text me, shoot me a DM, hit me up, let me know because I'm actively on the hunt when it comes to that. I need some help. SOS, like consider this my white flag. So that's a little bit as to why I'm trying to get my life together. But now that summer is coming down to a close, which I'm so sad, I love summer more than anything. There's a lot of cool things to talk about that has occurred this summer and happened. So I am really excited about that. But I've really been just trying to figure out, like in my heart and my spirit, I'm like, what should we talk about for this episode? What would the vibe be? What is really good? And just a little bit of what I think has been on my heart. Towards the end of this episode, we'll get into it. And I hope it's impactful. I hope that you resonate with it. You feel relatable. Sometimes it's hard. So being on the 40th episode of the podcast, there's a lot of me that is thinking, okay, what do people like? What are the episodes they're looking for? Should we try to niche it up more? Should we try to broaden it? Trying new things with the Q&A. I'm always fascinated by Q&A. I love it. I appreciate those of you that gave me some answers. That means the world to me. I do want to keep doing this in the future and seeing what that looks like. And I know having the video is going to help a lot. So there's just a lot going on with the podcast. And I'm still trying to buckle down just in my job and working out and having a social life and stuff like that. So it's just been a season of a major grind and kind of having to split out my priorities and just kind of holding on and doing day to day. So this season has looked a lot differently than how it looked 8 months ago. And navigating that and not putting too much pressure on yourself or being really hard on yourself. Well, the podcast is not maybe exactly where I was hoping it would be on an outline of a year-long projection, but that's okay because I think one of the themes of this episode I want to talk about is like being a finisher. It's something that we've talked about in my Loft Devo we've been doing, but having perseverance, finishing strong, working hard, not giving up. And it's something that I do struggle with. And there's moments, whether it's in the podcast or other areas of my life, where I'm like ready to throw in the towel. It's too hard. I can't do it. But persevering and trusting God and like actually, it's just a bad day, not a bad life. Like, let me try the best that I can. If it's not a good fit, it's not a good fit. But when you have a purpose and you have a passion, you have a calling to something, and then just throwing the towel in when the time isn't right, that's not a good idea. And so I'm grateful and glad that I persevered, whether it's in my podcast or other areas in my life or in a job, whatever it looks like. So I don't really know where that thought came. It just kind of came to my brain. But I'm excited to talk about this episode. It's two friends chopping it up. I feel like it's been so long. Like I'm talking literally to a pen pal. Like, oh my gosh, you lived in Europe all summer. Oh, what's going on with you? It's been so long. You fell in love 4 times in Key West. What? Like, let's talk about it. Let's get at it. So as we do with solo pods, I'm always down for new ideas. And if someone too, like you listen to the podcast, you listen to them a lot, you're like, hey, Morgan, I would love for it to go in this direction. I have an idea or a suggestion, whatever. My DMs are open. Like, I love having that openness and your suggestions and whatever, because I love doing the podcast, like creatively. It's so fun for me. And I love having the interviews, and I know where the gaps are, but also I love doing this for people who love to listen and helping where it's out. If you're like, hey, we want maybe some harder topics or whatever, like let me know, because this is a season where we've done the 40th episode, and it's exciting and it's amazing and it's wild how we've gotten here. But also I'm all about, what do the people like, what do we want to listen to? Like, what's the vibe? Where do we want to see Keeping Up with Cash go in the future? I have my ideas, and I'm praying about it with God. I'm like, you show me, you direct me. But also, like, if you have ideas, I want to hear them. I mean, for real. I love a good creative vibe, collaboration moment. But for this episode, we're going to get into it. There's a lot of updates, kind of talk about everything going on, and then again, touching on perseverance and really being a finisher, and also how to deal and cope with stress. So first and foremost, I am around 5 months at my job. It's definitely been a grind. I'm still learning a lot, and I think I'm still learning just as much as I did month 2. So the grind is continually going. I feel more confident. I'm feeling better. But also it's still a heavy grind that I'm still getting used to. So that takes a lot of like mental capacity in my brain, where sometimes I feel fried to do the podcast. The podcast is a lot of hard work, and people could argue that the return may not be as great as the work, but it doesn't matter, because the things that have come to me because of the podcast, I'm so grateful for, and the relationships I've been able to have. So it's not going away. And that's that. Staying strong in that. But yeah, I don't think, some people realize like different jobs really have different expectations and asks. And so right now I'm in a role that's definitely very busy, very busy, very busy. And so it's been hard to kind of navigate that in my personal life or with the podcast, and like putting things in different buckets and categories. So that's just been a transition for me, and I'm still learning, and I can admit that. So I don't know where you at in your job, but give yourself some grace where things are going to change. Different roles are going to change, where maybe you've done something for the same way for so long and you're frustrated because you can't do that in your next role. Well, that's okay. Like, just, you don't need to be so incredibly hard on yourself. Just give yourself some grace and navigate. Well, what can you handle right now? And like, what do you have to delegate, or whatever that looks like? So let's talk about summer. So last time we talked, I got back from Wyoming, which was so fun, so great. But now I'm sitting here in September, and I'm like, oh my gosh, I blinked. I feel like I went to Key West, and I don't even remember what happened for the remainder of that summer. But a lot happened. So me and my girly pop, Reagan, and her dog, we went to Eureka Springs in Arkansas, and I've never been there before. And it was really cool. It felt like straight out of a movie. We stayed at the KOA. We had a cute little cabin. Like, we just had really great, soul-filling conversations and fun. Like, it was a short little weekend trip, but just being able to hang out with one of your friends and have just like really deep-minded conversations, heart-to-hearts, being able to emotionally release, and just really, I don't know, it like fills your soul. You feel safe when it's someone who's basically like family. And I'm such a nature person, so we love going on hikes, and we get to swim in the lake and just really have a lot of fun, explore Eureka. So it was definitely cool. I very much plan to visit Arkansas again. I don't know how much time I would spend in Eureka again. For me, a little bit, like the downtown area, I feel like I saw it once. I saw it enough. Like, if I went, it would be more so of a hiking adventure again, or whatever may happen in that area. But it was really great just being able to take a weekend, kind of get out of your town, hang out with one of your longtime besties, and really have those thoughtful, deep heart-to-hearts. And I don't care like how old I will be. I don't care if I'm 45 or 50, 70, 80. It does not matter. Like, I always will make a time for my friends. I mean, obviously I'm going to have a family and, a husband and maybe some kids or whatever goes on. But I think it's important to, whether that's in your relationship with your person, your husband, whatever, to take that time to really escape. Maybe it's just you being alone, but I think having those moments of just escaping, getting out of your environment, being able to have thoughtful conversation, laugh, swim, do something different is so important for our relationships, our mental health, and how we do at work. I think all of these things have to do with being able to kind of detach and also be able to have thoughtful conversations with people of the same like mind who's encouraging one another. So having that fun little trip was a vibe, and I'm really glad it happened. And then a few of my friends and I went to a country concert. I think it was like Turnpike Troubadours. People are making fun of me because I didn't even really know who we were going to see. I think we had tickets to like somewhere in the middle, but we just kept trying to seat hop the whole night. The band was really great. I had never even really listened to them before. I love myself a good country concert, but I always miss the tickets for Morgan Wallen, Zach Bryan. I don't know why. I just don't really be paying attention. Like, I will drop a bag on Packer tickets or Bengals tickets, or I'm going to an NFL game here soon, and I'm like, oh my gosh, whoa. And I'm like, I probably could have seen Zach Bryan twice but I'm excited about the game, and the concert was cool. I felt like a lot of their songs were very like romantic love songs, but it was a cool concert nonetheless. Good vibes. I had an Uber driver there because we weren't really driving. We just wanted to go as a group. We wouldn't have to really deal with that situation. And her name was Teresa. And we hit it off. Like, I wasn't feeling very well. And this woman she helped me get like medicine. She bought me a pizza. She ended up like giving me her number. And I'm like, go girl, like, she's like a whole mom, but I'm like, let's connect and hang out in Springfield. Like, I don't know. She was just like so cool. And I love having like friendships and relationships with random people. I don't know. Like Teresa, I was like, girl, I can tell you have a genuine heart. And if you're ever in Springfield and I need a ride, like, I'm hitting you up. So she was really cool. We got a picture together. If you go on my Instagram, you can see it. But that's awesome. That's awesome. So the Loft Evo has been going strong. If you listen to the last solo pod, I made it very clear that when I came back from church camp, I'm making it a very big priority to not live the same. I think I want to make it a priority to be in spirit-filled environments and to surround myself with people that are like-minded, and we're having thoughtful conversations, and we're praying, we're like really doing whatever God wants us to do. Like, that's a big priority for me now. And I didn't realize like how many like little things under the surface I like let go, or was like whatever. And now being 24 and like being in the headspace that I'm in, there are a lot of things where I'm like, okay, I'm actually not allowing this in my life anymore. Like, actually, I'm not okay with this. Like, actually, and I don't know if it's the Holy Spirit and like really feeling in my stomach and my gut, like, yo, you shouldn't be here, Morgan. Like, you shouldn't be doing this, Morgan. Like, you know better. This is not where your future man's going to be. This is not this is not the vibe. So that's how I've been feeling. And the Loft Evo has honestly been really good. We've had kind of a pattern of the same girls, and it's people that I just love hanging out with in my life. So it's cool to have all of us together. And then we started integrating it with my church, because my church is doing this like small group season. So that's been fascinating, is we're excited to bring in, more girls that are just looking for more like Christian friends and having conversations and talking about things that really matter and doing a book study on whatever it may be. And it's fascinating how you could have a group of girls, like 6 different women, and maybe like their age range is anywhere from like 21 to 25, 26. It doesn't really matter. And we're all sitting here, and we all have different jobs in different industries, different problems. Some are married, some are single, some are dating. It doesn't really matter, but we all are like collectively going through different weird seasons. And somehow we all relate about something going on. So it's been really powerful. And the biggest part about it is having that community of, praying for one another, lifting each other up, where this person's really going through something, maybe there's a painful situation. Well, now you have 4 other girls who are like praying for you and care about you and thinking about you, like you're not alone, all these things. So it's been pretty cool just to see the impact that's been happening. And for me, and if you listen to my podcast episodes from last year, you've been with me when my last apartment was absolutely trash, and my lawyer friend got me out of it. Like, it was this whole thing. So when I moved into the loft, like, the loft has been my little miracle. Just being friends with all the restaurant workers downstairs and really having this community, these families, these people who are not only my neighbors, but my friends. Like, I could have never even dreamt of the community that I have here, and I'm so thankful for it. And so being able to turn around and say, like, yo, God, like, you gave me, like, the absolute best place I could have ever lived for an amazing price. Like, I'm gonna go ahead and like give you glory in any way that I can. Like, that's hosting a night where we can have all these like women over, and we're like hanging out, chilling, eating cookies, praying, whatever. It's a vibe. Like, I'm gonna do it, And so I think one of the biggest things that I'm proud of myself for is I used to care so much what people think, and I still do about certain things, but now I really don't care. Because I would rather have people be like, oh my gosh, Morgan is so Christian, she's kind of annoying, she's whatever. But I'd rather have people think that and be like, okay, but at the end of the day, like Morgan's gonna answer the call if I need her. She's not gonna judge me. You know, I know that if I need someone to be there for me, pray for me, give me a hug, talk through things, Morgan's gonna be there. Like, as long as you know that, I don't really care if you think that I'm being less fun or being annoying. Like, that's not really my problem. I'm gonna keep it moving, keep it a buck. Like, that's what I'm gonna do. So the Devo's been going really good so far. It's been nice to have that accountability. I still have someone who's my accountability partner, and this is under the category of like, Morgan, how are you doing faith-wise? I feel bad. I usually keep it in outline form, but right now my brain is so scrambled in life. Quick pause, ADHD moment. I saw this TikTok and it was like, to the people who used to just be in elementary school and shove their papers into their backpack, what are you doing now? And the girl stitched it, and it was her laptop screen, and it just had all these singular documents like covering her whole screen. And that is me. Like, that is me. I have so many singular notes, but I had to take notes because I will forget it in an instant. And so, sorry, life is crazy. I don't know if you can tell, but my brain is always on empty. It's hard to be entrepreneurial when your brain is empty at the end of the day, but I'm trying. So back on the spiritual perspective is, obviously I went to church camp, came back, Wyoming, still on fire for God, started Let's Loft Devo, accountability partner. But there's a lot of things where like, this is different for me. Like, a lot of things I think I allowed, was okay with, thought it was normal. Now I'm like, I'm not interested. And it's like, it's not even intriguing to me anymore. Like, it's not even appetizing or anything like that. So my accountability partner, we've been really consistent, and I really think that's important for people is, you know, maybe reaching out to someone who is more spiritually minded than you, or maybe you think is more wise, and just praying with them or talking to them once a week, because it has really kept me on track, and it's really encouraged me and really opened my mind up to things where, oh my gosh, like, you're right. This is, this is where I'm struggling, or like, this is, I don't know if I'm hearing God's voice. Like, you know, just being able to talk to other people and bounce ideas is key. And it really helps lift one another up. So I guess that's my encouragement in that area is I've been really consistent about, hey, like, I want to at least be in, my Bible app once a day, talk to the accountability partner once a week, and we have Loft Devos like every other week. So, and my plate's been definitely getting fuller and fuller as it's like, oh, now I'm integrating with my church. Now I'm doing this and now I'm doing that. But I think it's something about us individuals where it's like, we don't know what we don't know. Like, we don't know how much we can handle until we're handling it. I mean, if you would have told me like 3 years ago when I was a senior and trying to just like finish my classes and like pass them, like, oh, Morgan, you're going to actually have a full-time job, work out, have friends, and do a podcast, I'd be like, you're insane. I can't even pass this science class. Like, I'd be like, you're nuts, but you get into your routine, you start mastering your routine, and then there's areas where you can grow and you can take on more. And there's certain times where I do push myself too far and I have to relax and, chill out. But if you're called to something and you're gifted, go for it. Don't let little things in your head stop you from doing what God's called you to do. So there's that. But there was something I was going to say about that too, is, I just, as Sarah and I talked in the last episode as well, I feel like the season that I am in right now is a really, really fascinating and interesting one. It's like this season, not this origin story or anything, but I feel it in my spirit that it's like focusing on being single, focusing on harvesting my own garden. Who are in my life right now? Who's the people in my life that, I'm friends with, I need to reach, I need to talk to. We have these moments because we don't know what life is going to look like in 3 years. We don't know what's going to be happening, who's going to be in your life, where you're going to be, what it's going to do. And so I I'm always so focused on the future. Well, what am I going to be doing this? And where am I going to be doing this? And am I going to live here? Blah, 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 blah. Like there's 4 million questions all the time. And that's typically what business people and entrepreneurs are always doing. You're always planning for the next year. What is the budget going to look like? What are we going to have our Christmas party? What are the events? What do we need to allocate for this? What's the marketing plan and strategy? You're always thinking ahead. But I think it's something that as humans, as that can be important for business and entrepreneurship, we have to be thinking in the moment and just for our day-to-day when it comes to contentment. Okay, even though you're thinking for the future, but what are you thankful for today? What's going on today? Who's in your life today? There's so many moments where I'm so focused on, what life could look like or where it could go. One thing about me is that I don't play games unless it's ping pong at Classics Yard. Classics Yard is Springfield's #1 social sport and game center. It is located in the back of Classic Rock Coffee Company headquarters and next door to the Riff. Coffee, sports, music, what more could you want? Located at 1900 West Sunset Street in Springfield, Missouri. Be sure to check them out, play some games, and reserve your event today. Visit www.classicsyard.com. Oh, that I'm not even spending time with all the people that I'm surrounded with right now. And I think that is the heartbeat of this season, is we find contentment when we find focus on what God has given right in front of us. I'm so grateful for where I live and all the people in my life and my job and everything going on. And I'm such a natural person to plan for the future, but I find so much joy in the present. And I know someday I'm going to be like, man, I missed that moment when I was 24 in that loft and I had all my besties right next to me. Like I'm going to miss that. So I think that's an encouragement I have for you is what season are you in and what are you not being content about in your season? What is around you that is amazing that you're not even noticing or giving attention to because you're so focused on what you're going to be doing in a year? That's the hardest pill for me to swallow, but you got to swallow it because this right here, what in front of you is a gift. So receive it. I'm sorry. Sheesh. Morgan got all I got all serious with it. But that's how I feel. That's the season that I'm in. I feel so strongly about it. And Haley, which we'll get into this, but she said something so great to me. She was like, you can almost feel when God is closing a season. Like it's like the end of the movie, they start having that little end music before the credits go up. And it's cool how you can almost have this like feeling in your spirit, this gut feeling of, okay, this time is coming to a close. So that was pretty cool. But okay, now let's get into a little bit more. So obviously, I went to Eureka Springs, the country concert, and then I was working a lot. We had Loft Devos. Somehow during that time frame, time just flew by, and I blinked, and August was over. I would say that August was the fastest month that just flew by. I mean, I'm literally going through my Instagram right now, trying to figure out if I'm forgetting to tell any type of story that happened in August. But yeah, it just absolutely flew by and was insane. But let's get into the exciting stuff. So, yes, this is what is new. So as some of you guys know, my car has we have an interesting relationship. And by interesting, it's mean I love my car. I've accidentally hit a few things. She's resilient. She's persistent. But sometimes she kind of goes crazy, aka the rodents, and tries to mess around and like die. So one thing about me though is I typically when I overthink, I'm always right. And 2, when I have a gut feeling, I'm usually right. So my car, I'm driving it and I'm like, she does not feel right. She does not feel right. So I remember getting my battery changed at an O'Reilly's and I was like, I met this like older man. He was really sweet. He like put his numbers in and I got a discount on the battery. I'm going to hit him up. He's a mobile mechanic. I'm going to hit him up and I'm going to see if he can just like check out my car and see what's wrong with it. Oh, actually, to back up, I knew what was wrong with it. The alternator was broken and it had to be replaced. And when your alternator is broken, you have to get it fixed ASAP. So I'm like, oh my gosh. Okay, so I called this guy up. He's like, yeah, I can fix your alternator. Okay, cool. So we meet up at an O'Reilly's, probably one of the more like ghetto ones, to be honest. And we pull up and this guy talks to my car. And I'm like, who is this man? Like, this is not who I thought I called. And he was like, okay, if you just give me the keys, like I'll fix your car. It'll be 3 hours. You can go to that restaurant and do work or whatever you need to do. And I'm like, okay. I have no idea who this man is. I realize I called the wrong O'Reilly's. I've been talking to the wrong mobile mechanic for like 3 days, and I'm just handing my keys over to this random guy. So I was like, okay, so I unlocked my car. I'm trusting the process. Everything we're doing is like, I'm paying him cash, and I took my keys and he just started working on my car. So I go and I just like work from this restaurant, and I'm calling my friend. I'm like, hey, I have no idea who this guy is. I don't even know if he's certified. He looks pretty tough. Like, I'm just going to trust the process. I'm in too deep. What can I do now? So 3 hours goes by and this guy finishes my car and he's like, yeah, I fixed your alternator. Also, I saw this cable was getting ripped. Also, I noticed this. So if you just pay me a little bit more, we'll be good. So he ended up like charging me a way cheaper price for an alternator if I actually got it done professionally. So I'm like, yo, okay, rock on. This guy rocks. Car drove great. A few weeks later, I was like, man, I'm supposed to be driving to St. Louis here soon, and I just feel like something's not right with my car. Like the brakes, like it's not accelerating very good. He comes to my work. He pulls up. He fixes my brakes. He fixed the I'm so bad with car stuff. This is like embarrassing. The parking brake, he fixes the parking brake. He fixes all this other stuff. Again, charges me way cheaper than any other place. And at this point, me and this guy are friends. I'm like, dude, you rock. I'll refer you to all my friends. He's supposed to fix my car again here soon. So that's been crazy. One thing about me is I attract a lot like these random things, airport problems, short men, and car problems. But it's okay, because if you know what like naturally comes to you, then you know how to combat it with people who are really great at handling that stuff. So he's super great. He's awesome. It's been a wild time for my car, but I want to ride her out until I absolutely can't. So that's been new with that. Right after I got my car fixed, like the day after, I went to my friend's wedding in St. Louis. It was gorgeous. It was beautiful. It was so fun. And I love being chaotic. Love it. So, as some of you know, my friend Keegan Slay Queen, she has an affiliation with an airline. And so we decided to go on a Cutie Pie Girls trip, and we flew standby. So as all of you know, I can't stand United, but I love airlines. Like, I love flying. I love airports. I love the magic. I love all of it. So I flew standby to Key West, and on the way there, it was insane because I didn't have a single airline problem. Every flight was perfect. No delays, no cancellations, hopping on, hopping right off. Like, everything was perfect. I was like, somebody pinch me because this is not real. This is not real. The ball is not dropping. This is the first time I've ever had like a no problem situation. We get to Key West, and Key West was unreal. I didn't even know what to expect. Like, I was thinking beaches. Key West does not have that many beaches. It has just a lot of body of water, but it was so different than any other part in Florida. Like, it really was so gorgeous. It's island vibes. There's a lot of culture, a lot of different people there, a lot of international. Everyone was super friendly. Everyone was super nice. The first time we got there, it was Labor Day, and it was like Nashville on Duval Street. It was wild. And I got to meet some people. Some guys are like, ask me for my number. There was not a single man that was like, can I get your snap? Like, oh my gosh, everyone was just chill vibes. It was good. It was sweet. I kept joking around that I fell in love like 3 times. I'm not gonna lie, there were definitely some fine men there. They were very sweet and nice. Yeah, I don't know. I was just vibing with them, but they weren't pressuring or anything. I don't know. Everyone was just like really cool, and I definitely will be back. Into other parts of Florida as well. But yeah, Keegan and I had a great time. We went on a jet ski tour, and I've jet skied in the ocean before. Like, I've done it. It's been fun. It's a vibe. But this was different. Like, I've jet skied in the ocean with my sister, and we just got to do whatever we wanted. This was different. This was a jet ski tour. So they took us all around the island and then all the way out to the Atlantic. So we had to like follow in a line and be a mile out from each other. And we were all going like 40 to 50 miles per hour. And I was the slowest one on this tour. And the slowest I was going was like 30 miles per hour, 30 to 40, because I'm like, every single wave I'm hitting, I'm about to fall off this jet ski. But it was so fun. So we were jet skiing, and we got all the way out to the Atlantic, and I look out, and oh my gosh, like the entire sky was orange. It was like an IMAX theater. Like, the whole sky was orange, and there's these sailboats docked out in the middle of the ocean. And I just was like, oh my gosh, like this is God. Like I've been to Hawaii, I've been to Cyprus, I've been to a lot of places, and this was the prettiest sunset I've ever seen in my life. It was just one of those things that's like a mental picture in my brain. It was so gorgeous. It was unreal, and I didn't want to leave that moment ever. It was so beautiful. And I just kept thinking, like, God, your creation is so unreal. And anytime that I'm feeling like down or lost or whatever, stressed, like this is the moment I want to remember. I'm like, this is where I want to be. Like, this is real. This is me. No, but that sunset, I don't know. There was something about that sunset that like changed. Like, I was just like, oh my gosh, amazing. And, yeah, so we left that moment, and the instructors were cool, took them out, they were a vibe. We left that, and then the next day we went snorkeling, and our instructor there was super cool. He was from Poland, and we went snorkeling, and I'm so dumb. I don't know why. I was thinking I'd be like diving in the water. No, like when you snorkel with the little goggles and the little like, you're only on the surface, but we're like snorkeling and I'm like not getting it right in the water, right? It's just like not mathing in my brain. And so the instructor like pulls me aside, like fixes my goggles. He's like, follow me, I want to show you something. I'm like, oh my gosh, like, do you do this for every swimmer? Oh my God, what? And he shows me and he's like, go down here. And it's like the coral reef, but the coral reef was dead. Like that, it was not colorful. I did see like 5 different jellyfish, but I was just scared they were gonna sting me. But no, the snorkeling tour was just like so fun. Everyone's so sweet, and they're making bank out there in Key West, but they're working their butts off. But it was the vacation that I really needed. I love the ocean. I'm such a mermaid. I'm like, oh my gosh, I need to go surfing so bad. Like I really want to surf again. And it was just, I'm really grateful. So Key West was so beautiful, so fun, and I highly recommend to go visit. So on the way, it was crazy too. Like Keegan and I were leaving, and as we left, I witnessed like a whole lady get ran over on a bike by an ambulance. Like that was just insane. So we had to talk to the police officers and be like, this is what we saw. She was okay when we saw her. I think her legs were broken, but they took her to the hospital, and I'm like trying to, pray over her in my mind. I'm like, oh, this chick, this whole situation was wild. So then we go to leave, and Keegan has an early flight, but my flight wasn't until 4, but we're both flying standby. And standby is risky because we know how many open seats there are, but anything can happen. And it was kind of tight on the way home. So Keegan flew, she was good to go, it was good vibes. I was at the pool till the last possible moment, and then it was time for me to go. So I get to the airport, and then they kept saying there was something wrong with our aircraft and that the aircraft wasn't leaving Charlotte. And so I ended up being there from like 4 until 10. And I'm sitting there, and I went through all the motions. Like at this point, from Wyoming, everything that happened in Wyoming, that was so insane. So I'm so like traumatized from the Wyoming airplane situation. I truly feel that like nothing can shake me. Like nothing can shake me. But standby is different because I didn't know if I was like they didn't have a flight. Like what was I going to do? So at first they were saying, okay, your aircraft is delayed. You're delayed. So it delays to the point where we all miss our connecting flight. Okay, so people who are regular, airport ticket people, they ended up getting a layover in Charlotte and given a hotel. I'm flying standby. I don't get that situation. So there came a point where the lady's like, attention all passengers, we have a flight coming out to Miami. If you're interested in this flight, come up to the flight deck. Otherwise, we have an overnight delay in Charlotte, blah, 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 blah. I go up to the lady at the desk. I'm like, hey, look, I'm flying standby. What should I do? The Miami flight's booked. Like, my friend is currently flying. She can't rebook me right now. Like, I don't know what to do. The lady was like, I don't know either. You should just sit down here. If I were you, I would like wait an hour and see what happens. I'm like, okay. In my mind, I'm just trying to strategize. Like, what can I do? Like, what's my out? I'll never forget driver said, always be looking for an out. Always be looking for an out. So in my mind, I'm like, okay, well, I'm friends with these jet ski instructors. Like, worst case scenario, I hit them up and I have a place to stay, right? We'll figure it out. Worst case scenario, I can probably work from home. We'll figure it out. So next thing that happens, they say, okay, you're going to be rebooked to Charlotte. We have a flight coming out and everyone's going to have a overnight delay. So everyone that I'm sitting around was really sweet to me. We were talking, we're encouraging one another. There was a couple that was really helpful and just kind of being there for me as I talked through things. And I ended up talking to her, and she was like, oh, well, we have some friends in Charlotte. And I'm thinking to myself, oh my gosh, well, one of my best friends in the whole world lives in North Carolina. So I hit her up and I'm like, hey, like, how far away are you from Charlotte? She's like, oh, I'm 40 minutes. I'm like, yo, can I stay with you? Because at this point, I've already texted my boss and I'm like, I am stuck. Like, this is a situation, like, can I work remotely tomorrow? She's like, absolutely, no big deal. So my best friend ends up picking me up from the airport. I get to her house at midnight. It's so late. She has to get up so early. We're so tired. But I got to spend the whole day at their house just working remotely. And then her and I got to have dinner. And then I went to the airport. And it was like a whole mini trip in a trip. And it's something that like I wasn't expecting. But I'm so grateful I got to see Haley and Jasmine and Alan and all of them. And, you know, just getting to be together and talk and hug each other and see each other. We didn't see each other since the party. So it's been around 8 months. And so to me, it's like you have no idea what a blessing delays can be, or what awful situations can turn into beautiful situations. So this airport situation was kind of stressful and hectic, but also so beautiful, and I was just not going to stress. So then the next day, Haley and Jasmine dropped me off. I'm leaving out of Charlotte right away. There's like code red weather violation. And also I'm like, I have no idea if I'm ever going to see my luggage again, because I checked it in Key West. But then with all the flight changes and everything, I made peace with the fact that I was like, I may never see my beautiful white suitcase ever again. And that's okay, because it's just material goods. So I end up getting home, got back to Springfield, and it was a nice late, like 1 a.m. And then I had to work at 8 a.m. the next day. So I get to Springfield, I hang out at Badger Clean. My bag never came. I was like, all right, amazing. That's a vibe. And I went home, went to work, worked all day, and then went to the airport, and my bag was there. So everything worked out. Everything was okay. Because I knew, I was like, got to my back. I'm always going to be fine. It's no big deal. Like, I trust him. It's no big deal. Everything's fine. But the trip was awesome. It was exactly what I needed. And I don't know, like, God really touched me just getting able to see Haley and Jasmine, and then also just being with Keegan and getting to see so much beautiful creation and what life looks like on the other side of the country. So that was so cool, and I'm so blessed and thankful. And I really appreciate like airport staff too, because we all know that be stressful. But yeah, so I want to get into the Q&A portion of the podcast, to transition a little bit. I know I'm talking a lot. Right now it's at 37 minutes. Like, that's insane. But I want to go ahead and do the Q&A. So I know I've been talking a lot, and I haven't even brought water over here. So if you're still tracking, I appreciate you guys heavy. So I want to get into the Q&A portion of the podcast, and I want to thank you so much for everyone who did the Q&A. It means a lot. We just kind of chose the questions that really stuck out. So also, for future reference, if you guys do Q&A, I just encourage you to continue asking questions and saying things you want to see or hear. It means a lot. But again, to the people that gave responses, I really appreciate you. So we're going to go through the Q&A. I appreciate everyone who gave responses and questions. I want to keep doing this stuff in the future. So in order to do that, you have to keep asking questions. But I really like the deep questions. I really dig it. So first and foremost, we have, what is a question you want to hear discussed on the podcast? It is trusting your gut and what opportunities evolved from that. So when I say this, when I look at that, I think about the times I trusted my gut. And this is going to sound really bad, but I look at the times that I didn't trust my gut. And for me, you're like trusting your gut and then the Holy Spirit. And sometimes I feel like the Holy Spirit is the one that's like punching me in the gut, that's telling me what to do. And I look at the times that I didn't trust my gut, where I was like, ooh, this is my intuition. This is the vibe I'm getting. This probably isn't a good idea. But then in my mind, I'm like, oh, okay. Like, I kind of just go for it. And then I'm like, oh, like this person's proving me wrong, or this is a good vibe. I really like this. And then I get burned later on. And so I think now being 24 and kind of going through more experiences, now I'm more so trusting my gut because of the times that I didn't. And really leaning into, you're usually right. those deep feelings, overthinking, having a weird vibe, I lean into those because typically, unfortunately, that feeling is usually right. So I don't know how that applies to you, but that's been my experience. Or the moments where I feel really like anxious or uneasy and I have a weird feeling, that feeling has typically been right. Okay, what would you like to hear advice about? Feeling stagnant, stuck in career, personal growth. This I understand. There's been moments where I have felt this way. It's really hard when you're in a season where you know that you're capable of doing so much, and you know your worth and you know your value, but you feel stuck. And there's moments too where maybe you've applied somewhere and you keep getting rejected, and you're like, but I know that I'm full of greatness and I know I can do this. But you're not growing personally. This is where I also feel like resilience and perseverance is so key, because make a difference. Don't accept no as an answer. But I will say, as I agree with that, where it's like, okay, show people why you're valuable. Like, don't allow being stuck to be the final answer. Like, that's a whole area we could dive into, and being like, okay, create a portfolio for yourself, cold call for yourself, get yourself out there. Like, that's keep grinding, make yourself look different. Like, do what you got to do. That's a whole category. But then on the flip side, there's also this thing where it's timing is everything. Like, maybe right now your season is to just be in the job that you have and be there, and you're praying about it, and then maybe you apply and like the right thing will come later. So there's this twofold of you're feeling stuck. And I guess my question for you would be, what is your dream role? Like, where do you want to go? Are you doing the things to make that happen? Are you applying places? Are you praying about it? Are you putting yourself in situations to meet people who are in that field? Or are you just continually doing your day-to-day job? Maybe you don't like it, but you're also not like looking or trying anything else. Those are the areas that I would say, like, I would encourage you to figure out what bucket you're in, what category. And once you can identify what you want and like where you want to go, you can apply. If you don't get it, it's not the vibe. You can still work extremely hard in your day job and focus on your personal growth of where you want to go. And oftentimes, maybe you'll meet someone or be in a networking situation where someone's impressed by you and offers you a job. So that's my advice to someone who is feeling stagnant in their career, personal growth, is it's really, one, don't let the circumstances define you and your self-worth, but two, it really is a timing thing as well. So you work hard where you're at, you focus and work hard in your personal life and determine where you want to go, and then you give that all to God. So that's my advice. That's what I've done in my life. And it's definitely been a journey, but it's been a cool, wild one. And then, what is a personal question you would like me to answer? Do I believe in second chances? So that's a pretty loaded question, because there's not really a category as to like what. I do believe in second chances. As a Christian, I believe that someone can like turn their life around and, ask for repentance, try again, like, be forgiven. Like, I believe in all these things. I think in terms of a relationship, it's a really open-ended question, I mean, if I'm married, a lot of that can look different than versus if I'm dating. I mean, if like, for example, if I was dating someone and maybe they cheated on me or something, and we're in that dating phase, I don't know if I would get past that. So in that situation, like, I don't know if I would give a second chance, because I'm dating that person. Like, that's hard. But maybe if I'm married, I don't know. I'm not in that position. I'm not sure. And second chances can look really different, whether it's like emotionally or whatever. Like, honestly, there's a really big category of second chances. But I guess for me, if I'm like in a relationship and a guy hurts me really bad and they want a second chance, I really have to determine how I felt about everything. Because right now in my life, if a dude was to do me wrong and they want to come back and get a second chance, they're not going to get one. And that's just because I'm like, okay, I mean, if there like years went by and there was a lot of personal growth and things changed, whatever, okay. But in terms of like exes and things like that, I think that sometimes like people can change, but I sometimes think that exes don't. Like, and when I say that, I say the way that they treat a certain person may never change. And this is my own personal opinion. Like, you don't have to agree. I believe in second chances. I believe that people can change. But I also do believe that when some people are so used to treating one person in a pattern, that even though they could personally be changed, the way they treat that person may never change. So this is a loaded question. I believe in second chances. I believe that you are not your past. But in terms of a relationship, and one thing my accountability partner and I talk about all the time is, yes, like forgiveness, second chances. But when it comes to having that deep, tight relationship with you, there's a difference between forgiving and being a fool. Like, we can forgive, but you don't have to give that person access to you in a close, deep way. So there's a difference between that. I fully believe in second chances, but romantically or having a very close-knit relationship with me, I may not believe in a second chance in that area. So it's a wide open question and it's hard to answer. And again, this is my opinion and the way that I'm interpreting this question. So, but again, I just want to say, like, I do believe in second chances, but it is a spectrum. And if you hurt me really bad, you may not have a second chance in being tight with me. And then I said what topics would you like to hear more on the podcast? New interests and funny interactions. Just off the top of my head, obviously I've been talking about pickleball. Been pickleballing a lot. Finally got a paddle. Definitely spent a nice little chunk on her. But she's cool. She usually matches all my outfits. And funny interactions. I try to just live my life, and I think it's corny, but I love it. I love it. So I appreciate, the Q&A portion, because I always love to hear like what's going on in your world and like how do you feel about it, because this is just my world right here that we're talking about, and this is how I feel about it. So pretty wild. Yeah, and I know we're coming to a close here on the pod, but a few things we've talked about. How to cope with stress. That was something that I mentioned I wanted to talk about. And definitely in different roles, it's easy to get really, really stressed in your life. But stress can kill you. It can cause anxiety attacks, seizures, all kinds of things in our life. But we don't want to give that power. And so that's hard. And I mentioned on the podcast that I really put a priority on, working out, hot tubbing, going in the sauna to deal with stress or relaxation. I think it's important to find something in your day-to-day that you really enjoy doing to allow yourself to relax and have that moment of, like, I can unwind. It's going to be okay. Like this and that. Everyone has different coping mechanisms, but making sure you have a balance between work and personal life and sleep and eating healthy and is really, really important. Spending time with God, being in the community, having fresh air, like all these things are important. But stress is a really dangerous thing. And so there's certain things that I love doing alone. I'm not usually one that like tries to work out with people, because I do my own thing and I just want to be alone, whether like I'm thrifting, penny boarding, whatever. There's certain things where it's like, don't get in my space. Like, this is relaxing for me. So yeah, even the podcast, this can be therapeutic for me. So I enjoy doing it. But really understanding and acknowledging like what are the stressors in your life and how do you cope with it? There's often been times in my life where I don't attend certain things or go certain places because I know that it may raise my anxiety, and that's very stressful for me, and that can be a problem. So one, acknowledging what are the stressors in your life. Two, the biggest triggers, like how do I handle them? How do I prepare for them? And how do I cope and deal with it? Because you don't want to just shove stress underneath you, because the thing is, when we just like shove things places or bottle them up, at some point they are going to blow up. So it's better to go through it and deal with it than pretend like it doesn't exist. So wow, this podcast is like, woo, it's a roller coaster of emotions. A lot of stuff. Dating. Talked about how I fell in love in Key West. Slay. Not dating. I don't really feel like it's my season right now. There have been a few men recently that have been very kind and asked me on dates, but unfortunately I'm just not on that wave right now. That's not really the vibe for me. maybe if I was in Key West. But yeah, I think I understand like the vibe right now for Springfield and what's rocking and rolling. And I don't know. There's certain things in my heart and certain things that I dream about, and I just don't know if this is the time. I think we put such an emphasis on what you want right in this moment versus the timing of when would this be a good time for that to happen. So I'm honestly really just grateful for my relationship with God and everything that's going on my plate right now and on my girlfriend. So it's a fun little season. But yeah, I was really flattered when these people like asked me. It was really nice. Yeah. So as we're coming to a close, I want to touch on the podcast updates again. Please DM me with ideas, suggestions, partnerships if you'd like. I'm still, we have partnered with nonprofits. I like doing athletics, sports, professional sports, that kind of thing. Fashion, art, getting into it. If you have ideas about partnerships or you want to learn more about the podcast or how we can partner, again, let me know. Right now, I am trying to get a handle on my life. Things are really busy, and I'm being transparent about that. My brain capacity, I'm still learning at my job. I have not had the time that I wish I had for some of the stuff with the podcast. I'm trying to finalize things so I can launch the merch. I'm trying to finish things up so I can move into the podcast studio. I want to do things really fun and excellent. I want to have more events. I want to be more present and do fun stuff. But it does take time and money. And so I'm trying to make sure that I'm just vibing out on my job so I can pour more of that into the podcast. That's me being transparent, and that's my heart. And that's where that's at. So I am really excited about things. And two, if you're someone that's like, Morgan, I want to learn more about your podcast. I want to help you out. I'm passionate about this mission. I'm passionate about this. Do you have openings in your team? Let me know, because if there's someone who, wants to partner with me and almost be like a business partner, I have ideas, I'm open to expanding that team and having help and doing more things together faster. So that's on that. And as we end this episode, one of the things we really talked about in my Loft Evo, and as we finished a book we just did, is finishing the race strong and being perseverant. Like, we've talked about moments where I thought about quitting the podcast, or certain things that are really, really hard and we're ready to throw in the towel, that we just feel like we can't do this. I can't do this. I'm not strong enough. I'm not good enough. I can't. I just want to quit. I want to move to an island and quit, or whatever it is. And it's like, okay, but where does your strength come from? What is God's hand in this? What is the plan in this? And, have perseverance and run your race strong. Finish strong. Do the mission he called you. And that's something that I really learned. That one thing my accountability partner would talk about is how we're going through seasons of development. You go through hard things because maybe everything you're learning right now is going to be everything you need to know for the next season. So when things are hard, don't blame God. Don't be mad about it. Embrace the challenges and give all your trust to him. Be like, yo, I don't know how to do this. I do this all the time. I'm like, I literally have no clue what I'm doing. I'm trusting you. Please help me get through this day. Like, that's been a vibe for a while. So run your race. Give it everything that you have and have perseverance. One thing I mentioned on the podcast a long time ago is that there was a statistic that said like 75% of podcasters don't make more than 5 episodes until they quit. We are here on episode freaking 40. I probably have wanted to quit the podcast multiple times when it just got to be too much work and not fun. But you know what? Things that are awesome are not always fun. Relationships are not always fun. Work's not always fun. Sports are not always fun. But then the moments that they are so fun, you're so glad you didn't quit. When you win the championship game, when you make that big sale, when you get to walk on a runway, when your photo gets public, or whatever it may be, when your podcast gets to be, verified, or you have a really big guest, like in those moments, you're so grateful that you grinded. And then you had perseverance. So I encourage you that whatever your passion is, whatever God's called you to, whatever you're talented at, do not give up. Put your strength in God and have perseverance and absolutely give it everything that you have. Because the right boss, the right people, the right opportunity, they're going to notice. And all of your hard work is for a purpose. So I'm sorry, I get so preachy with it sometimes. Like, whoa. But I love you guys, and I appreciate you, hanging on with me. We've done these episodes for so long, and I still value your time and your heart and these conversations so immensely. So I love you guys, and once this merch does drop, you're gonna go crazy because, oh my gosh, it's so cute. It's so cute. I need to get my crap together because I'm gonna drop it. It's so cute. But thanks, guys. I just want to encourage you that be kind everywhere that you can, and really listen intently to others. And I've said this in the past, is that ministry can look like being in people's faces and inviting them to church and all that stuff, but it also looks like just listening to people with both your ears and your heart. Really listening to others, because there's people all around you who are just looking to confide and be like, hey, I'm going through this. Are you going to listen? Be there for others, love on others, be kind, and slay. Okay, guys, love you so much. I can't believe we're done. I just want to keep on talking, but I honestly need to get my life together. So thanks, guys, for being amazing. Wow, 40 episodes. I'm nostalgic and I'm gonna cry. I'm getting all teary with it. Thanks for being amazing, and to another 40. Woo! All right, love y'all.